Hey everybody, welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm the host of the show, Mark, and you're watching Whiskey Review number 180, MACKMYRA 10-year-old. Yes, finally from MACKMYRA we have a standard 10-year-old whiskey to compare with the typical 10-year-olds that you find in Scotland, also other whiskey producing areas, for example Ireland and USA, and even Canada, although quite often 12 years old is the standard. It's 46.1% ABV, alcohol by volume, 92.2 proof. So that's quite big, isn't it? I believe it's unchill filtered, and likely, definitely natural color. This one has been matured in a mix of 3 different casks. The first cask is American oak, so that seems to be what they use for the bulk of their production. Secondly, Swedish oak, which they are trying to ramp up because they want to really show off the Swedish, the local terroir, the local flavors which come even from the wood. And then thirdly, some Oloroso sherry casks. So let's get that poured without further ado. We will use the blue. So the second part, well, the third part, the intro, we had an intro for MACKMYRA. Then we had the MACKMYRA Expedition. So now the 10-year-old. I'm very excited about this because well, it's like the coming of age almost. So they've been around since '99, so almost 20 years in fact. But their production has been fairly small up until recently. They opened up a second distillery, and likely sold all of their first few casks. I sure hope they kept a few of the original casks. So they've come of age. They can now compete head to head with Scotland and other countries, even Japan, who have lots of 10-year-old expressions coming from that country. Oh, definitely very rich. Anything else to note about this one? Well, it is apparently limited, so it's a limited edition, although I believe they will likely continue to produce on a limited basis year to year. At least I hope so. So they'll always have casks from the next year the following year, right? Okay, on to the nose here. Oh, and if before we get into that one, sorry, if you are from Korea and you speak Korean, or if you are a Korean-speaking non-Korean such as me, well, I launched a Korean YouTube site, also a Korean YouTube channel called WhiskyWhistle Korea. The first episode was launched a couple of days ago, and so far quite a good response. And I'm trying to adopt sort of the Korean style of broadcasting. So let me know what you think of that. Subtitles, they should work. It seems as though my pronunciation is good enough for AI to pick it up as Korean and then leave it, be able to leave you with English subtitles, I would think. There could be times when it comes out as gobbledygook, but who knows. Anyway, so Whiskey Whistle Korea, why not subscribe and get involved there too, okay? Now then, back to the 10-year-old, the nose here, MACKMYRA 10-year-old. Oh, again, this really rich, full, oak-driven kind of a nose. Cedarwood. Cedarwood. I even kind of smell my parents' teak furniture the day it came in to the house when I was, about 10, 12 years old. There's something also very nutty here too. Walnuts. Roasted walnuts. Isn't that lovely? And not just walnuts. cashew nuts, a little bit sweeter. Cashew nuts are slightly sweeter than the walnuts, aren't they? Definitely vanilla. Also a lot of cinnamon here. A bit of nutmeg as well. Gorgeous nose. A little bit of pepper, but more like a white pepper. And I can tell it's going to be dry. So that's interesting. Do I get any of the sherry? Not so much a sherry, but it's as though I'm getting a little bit of a wine scent. So something kind of like a dry red wine coming through here. Pardon me. All right, on to the palate. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again to the MACKMYRA company. Very dry. The Oloroso really comes through here on the palate. It's presenting itself as not really raisins, not really dried plums, but more as reconstituted golden raisins and plums and apricots. So, you know, put it in a pot with water, let them fluff up again, and then simmer it. And then add to that some crushed nuts, walnuts, cashew, a little bit of pistachio. Finally, that dessert you're going to drizzle with with some Korean very dry reduced maesil, which is the Korean green plum known as umeshu in Japan. So drizzle it with a green plum reduction and maybe a little bit of a vanilla pudding added to that. Oh, that would be lovely. And this is what I'm tasting here. And the finish, again, very dry in the finish. Really takes hold of not only your mouth, but also your sinuses and your throat as well. So I'm feeling this all the way through. It's really taken over my senses. Now, I can't remember if it's the 10-year-old or if it's the 10-year-old or the Moment 12 that has something interesting in it. Let me see that 10-year-old information again. Well, I just read this now, but so they're the tasting notes from the company. Vanilla, green fruits. So now I mentioned the green plum. That's interesting. I didn't read that before, I promise you. Caramel and smooth oak. They mentioned berries. I don't get the berries myself, but you know, everybody's different. And they talk about some anise. So I'm getting sliced, not the anise, what's that called? It looks like celery, but it kind of tastes like anise. What's it called again? Anyway, there's something kind of like that there. Oh right, there was no, okay. Anyway, so that's the 10-year-old. Now, the finish, I'm tasting, again, very, very long, very oak-oriented, very oak-forward. And yet, you've got that little hint of that raisin reduction, as I mentioned, coming through on the palate. And again, quite a bit of dryness and a little bit of that Korean meshil flavor. And not the commercial ones. The meshil that your mother makes if you're Korean, and it's probably in your fridge, put into a 2-liter container of like a 2-liter plastic water bottle, and your mom will give that to you when you are feeling a little bit of indigestion. Although it's really great with water and ice. Probably we'll call it the cultural equivalent to lemonade would be meshil with ice and water. Little bit of an oak char now on the nose, I'm noticing. This reminds me much more of Japanese whiskey than of Scottish. That could be the local oak taking a certain role in the development of the flavor. Anyway, quick shout out to a really cool YouTube channel known as Foodquig, Foodquig, and I believe his name is Andy, although I call him FQ. So FQ, if you're watching, I know that you probably aren't able to get any of these. Someday I'm going to share some of these delicacies with you, and we will have a, I don't know, maybe we can arrange one of those kind of what do you call it, a live YouTube, you and I going over some interesting things that we have. And another shout out to Swami Suave, who runs Malted in Montreal. Very, very interesting guy, independent minded, does his own thing, and he does it with finesse. So very watchable, very entertaining. Have a look at that one, Malted in Montreal. And other shout outs I should mention, well, the Scotch Test Dummies. If you're not watching, you should. I also watch Ralphie, yes I do, and very influential in my development as a whiskey lover and as a, well, whiskey YouTuber, we'll call it. I think all of us probably have to pay homage to King Ralphie now and again. He probably will not watch this because he does his own thing, and that's cool. And if you're in Toronto, then Whiskey in the Six. The Six known is a nickname of Toronto. Anyway, Whiskey in the Six. Have a look for Rob from Toronto. And there's another Rob over in Vancouver who runs another YouTube channel called The Spirit Safe. Lovely accent. God, I love that British accent. Anyway, good stuff. So, how about this one? Gorgeous nose. Really shows its age here. And compare that again to the first edition, which I've had for a while now. Much richer, much sweeter, a much smoother nose. It was good to begin with, and now we're getting into the excellent range. I think I'll pour myself just a dash more of that. Just enough to compare with other things. So, on to the scoring then. Oh, we didn't add any water. Goodness me. Well, let's do that just a little bit. Ha! So what happens with water? Do I get more sherry? And the answer is yes. You can get more sherry on the nose with water added. All mixed up, pretty much. Much bigger sweetness. A little bit toned down on the dryness. Still very potent. I didn't add very much water. Maybe it's probably about 43%, I would imagine. Now I'm getting that bit of berry. Not strawberries, raspberries, field berries, blackberries, maybe Swedish berries. Definitely not dingleberries. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, that's about as funny as I can get. Sorry. Okay, so finish is pretty much the same. Very little bit of that sherry, oak, vanilla coming through there. So for the 10-year-old, the WhiskyWhistle Whiskey score for MACKMYRA 10-year-old is going to be 89 out of 100. That's the WhiskyWhistle Whiskey score for MACKMYRA 10 Years, as it's known. Put that one there. Put a new glass there. We have 2 to go, so I'll stop now. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe and watch the next one. That's going to be the 12-year-old, known as Moment 12. Okay? All right, take care now. Goodbye.